Hello and welcome to Level Up. This is our Python series where Angus is going to teach you the basics of coding in Python. Enjoy!
All right, welcome back. So, congratulations on getting this far. We've learned a lot so far, and we're gonna keep pushing forward. We're gonna learn some more today. So far we've looked at storing text as strings in Python. But text isn't the only type of data we want to store. We might also want to store numbers. So that's what we're going to look at today. So I'm going to, first of all, numbers in Python are called integers. An integer is basically just any whole number. Then with these, we can then perform math operations on them, or like we did in our previous tutorials, we can use if statements on them to check if they are a certain value. So we're going to start off here. I'm going to create an int. Once again, if you want to type it along with me, I'd recommend doing that. So I'm going to type out age. So we're going to create a variable called age. We're going to use the equals sign here to say we're going to give it the value, and I'm going to say 12. So this person has an age of 12. Right. So we'll run that, and you can see we get nothing nothing displayed out on our console to the right. But we know that this variable is when the program runs is being stored. So let's quickly, we'll just print that out. Remember, print statement is what we use to display something out to our console over here. And we can just print age, remembering we're passing in our variable here, and that'll get displayed. So we hit run, and we see that 12 is displayed out. Now, if you remember from our last tutorial, this isn't very user-friendly. A user will see that and think, what the heck does that mean? 12 means nothing to them. So we want to give a nice message, maybe say you are, and then your age. So I'm just going to delete this line again. And now to do that, we're going to type out print. We're going to use our two brackets, remember, and then in here, we'll use our two quotation marks to say we're going to create a string here. And we're going to say you are, and then we'll use a space to make sure formatting is right. And then we're going to use our plus symbol, remember, and that's we're going to use to combine two variables together, and we'll type age. Now, I'm going to run this. What do you think will happen? Do you think it'll display? Okay, I'm going to run this, and you see, oh, we got an error. Now that wasn't supposed to happen. Let's read it out. We've got a type error. Sorry. You can only concatenate strings, not integers. Now, that is a whole lot of jargon. We probably don't understand what that means. But basically, what this is saying is, we have a string here, which is our text, and then we're trying to merge it with an integer. Now, we can't do that in Python because these are two separate data types that don't work together. So to display this, we need to convert age to a string. And Python makes that really easy for us. All we have to do is in front of it, we have to type str and then open bracket, and at the end of age, close bracket. And what this is going to do is we'll see this variable here, age, which is an int, and this string function here, a lot like print, but like this, it will convert it to a string. So 12 will become 12 as such. So instead of it being an integer, it becomes a string. So if we now run this, we can see your 12 is displayed because we've converted this variable temporarily into a string. But if we were to print this again, we'll print you are again, and then we'll just type out age again. We hit run. We see we get that error again. It's worked fine the first time. This still works, but then we get the same error again. That's because this variable age is still an integer. We've only converted it temporarily just so we can print it out. Now this is great because this means we can simply convert the type of this variable to print it out, but this doesn't change the actual type of this variable here, which means we can still do math operations on it, which I'll show you how to do later. Excellent, right, so I hope that made sense. So now we're going to, if you remember in our last tutorial, we looked into if statements and how we can check if a condition is true. So we can also do that. We can do this with integers. And what we're going to do here is say, compare the user's age to another number, and if they're over a certain age limit, we'll say you can enter, and if they're under that age, you can say you can't enter. So we're going to do that just now. So if you remember from last time, to create an if statement, we just type in if, and then we're also going to type our variable name, age, to say we're going to compare age to something. And now, if you remember in the last time, we used two equal signs, and that means is equal to, so 18. And that would mean this will only run if that person is 18. Now, what if we want to do, if you're familiar, like people can only drive if they're over 17. So we don't want to have to say if you're 17, and then if you remember as well, we did elif to basically say another condition, age equals 18, and then we would do that with 19 and so on. That's just, we don't want to do that, that's ugly, the code would not look nice. So instead, we can use a greater than symbol. And what this basically says is, if a person is over, let's say, 17, we can then print, you can drive. Alright, so I'm going to run this. And you can see nothing is displayed because our age here is 12. Nothing is displayed. But if we converted this to, let's say, 25, hit run, we can see you can drive displayed. Now, if I type in 17 here, what do you think will happen? Do you think you can drive will get displayed? I'm going to hit run, and you see nothing is displayed. That's because values that are only greater than it, not equal to, only greater than are displayed. So only 18, 19, 20 and so on, 20 and so on are displayed. If we want to, because people can drive when they're 17, so we can use this other symbol called greater than, so we're just using that greater than symbol, and equal to symbol. And this will basically say that anyone that is greater than or equal to 17. So like before, we'll still have people that are 18, 19 and 20 that can drive, but we'll also have people that are 17 that can now drive. So if we run this again, remember last time that this wasn't displayed, but I hit run now, and you can drive is displayed. Excellent. So now, okay, but what if you're 12 in this instance? If you remember that, I'll hit 12, we hit run, you see nothing is displayed. That's not very user-friendly. So if you remember, we can create an else statement that basically says, if this condition isn't true, we're going to run this code here. I'm just going to type out print, and we'll type out a message saying, unfortunately, you are not old enough to drive. We'll just say something like that. So you can now see when we run that, instead of seeing nothing displayed, we get our message in our else statement displayed out for us. Excellent. Right now, this value age is hard-coded. And that's, if you remember before, when we had our name example and we asked the user for their name, that's not very user-friendly because the user will never see this code, so we'll never be able to change that variable. So once again, we can use the input statement. If you remember, the input function is just a function that allows us to get inputs back from the user, from the console, if you remember. So we use that, we use our two brackets, remember, and inside we'll type a message asking the user what we want them to give us. So we'll say, what is your age? Alright, so now we can see when we run this, we see what is your age is displayed to your screen. I'm going to type in, we'll type in 12 again. Now what do you think will happen when I run this code? Do you think we'll see you can drive displayed? Do you think you'll see unfortunately you're not old enough to drive displayed? Or do you think we'll see something else? I'm going to hit enter here, and we see we get another error. Now if you remember again, when we printed it earlier, we couldn't combine strings and numbers. They don't go together. We can't combine two things that aren't the same. So just like that, right here, we're trying to compare a number a string to a number, because this function here is returning a string. Now we don't want this, so just like before, we could convert an integer to a string using the str function. This converts an integer to a string. We also have another function called int, which takes a string and converts it to an integer. So what we can do is we can wrap this input statement here in int. You can use our open bracket here and then go to the end of the line and type a close bracket, and that'll convert whatever the user types in to an integer, as long as it's a number. So now if we run this again, and I type in the number 12 and hit enter, you can see, unfortunately, you're not old enough to drive. Because I've typed that in, Python sees this and it's like, oh, that's text, we're going to return that from this function. So this input value returns the number, returns 12 as text, and this int function here then sees that string 12 and goes, whoa, that can be a number, so we're then going to convert that to 12. And that's how we can then compare it to all these values. So if I then run this again and say, whoops, I forgot to close my bracket there. Here's some, actually this is quite good, this is actually something quite good we could run into here. If you ever see this, a syntax error, this basically means that you've probably missed a bracket somewhere. See here, once we start running functions on top of functions, it's quite easy to just forget to put a bracket at the end there. So if you ever get this, just look around the lines where the error could be, and you see here, we've missed the brackets. We can just put another bracket in there, hit run, and we can see that's fixed. And just to show you that this function here works, I'll type in 25, and we can see you can drive displays.
That's it for this video. Check out our channels for some more tutorials from Angus on Python. Join us next time. Bye.